container technologies. And how many of you have used Podman Desktop? Okay. So I hope like I can at least motivate those who have been not using or new to this to get started, and how easy it is to get started with container technologies and Kubernetes. So a little bit about myself. So my name is Jayapriya. I'm working as a senior software engineer at Red Hat, mostly in the observability space. So I'm actually an SRE turned software engineer. I used to work as SRE for 5.5 years, and then I moved to software. And I like playing badminton, and these are some of my social media profiles if you want to reach out for any questions you have later. So the key takeaways you can expect from these sessions are like I will go going briefly what containers are and Podman in brief, and we'll see how you can use Podman Desktop to work with containers and Kubernetes, and we will have a small part about how you can use Podman AI Lab, which is a new extension created to test large language models. So before go into these technologies, why we need containerization itself? So if you look back into the days which we were having VMs or only physical machines, those who have worked during those period of time, they know how difficult it is to set up different applications on a system. So that because there's a lot of dependencies could be common between these applications, and one could be depending on a different version which is having a conflict on the other version. I personally myself, I experienced it and cursed it during that time, okay, how difficult it is to set up these machines. And it's often referred to as metrics of hell, because of course reason you will be so frustrated after setting up these many dependencies on the machine. So that's how containerization comes into picture. So how it helps is, it actually helps to bundle all your application and the dependencies and libraries which is needed to run the application as independently, and it will actually help you get rid of all this frustration which you will have faced while setting up different applications. So I can assure that most of the SREs would have been so difficult to set up these systems before having Docker or any of the containerization engine. So that's a little bit brief about why we need containerization itself. Now let's come to Podman. So it's a seamless way to work with containers and Kubernetes. If you consider Docker, it has revolutionized container technology, and it helped us to get everyone to get into containers, because before that nobody was using it other than very large scale companies, and it made the user experience so good. And Podman is also helping that, and it has different features as well, and most important, it is very fast and light because it is a daemonless and it works seamlessly with system integration. Daemonless means if it is Docker, it's actually client-server model, because you will have a Docker engine running as a daemon, and you will be using Docker CLI to talk to the daemon in order to do any of the heavy lifting. But when it comes to Podman, it's like very lightweight. You only have a Podman process running, and whenever you need to create a container, what happens is it actually uses a fork exec model as how even Linux systems work in. Fork exec means like it will be forking itself, the Podman process, and it will be updating based on what the container configuration is, and that is the exec part. So it is running as very child process, and they both can run very seamlessly. And good thing is that it is very fast, because you already have all the things which you need. It is just replacing with whatever image or configuration for the respective container, and it can run seamlessly. And secure, next is like, because it's using something called rootless containers. That means the containers which are running will not have any root access. So even if due to some issue like some attack happened, that even if your container attacker got access to your container, it will not be able to access the host machine because it doesn't have any root access. So that helps us in making your system secure and your application as well. And it is compatible with other OCI container formats like Docker and Containerd and all sort of other technologies. Now, let's come to the main part which I want to discuss today, so Podman Desktop. So, it builds on the innovation which is already brought by Podman, offering a powerful yet user-friendly way for the containerized development. So, who are new to this technology, it can be a little bit overwhelming because you have so many things to take care and there's so many concepts to understand. But the best way I feel myself to understand these things are to set up a system in your and set up your environment in your system and make run and learn, see the errors, do trial and errors like that. So, but if you are a CLI person, you can of course use Podman. Like you may not need or for some other purpose you can use Podman Desktop, which needs the UI kind of thing. But how it helps a very people who are new to this space, and Podman Desktop helps there. And in last November, this has been now moved to a CNCF sandbox project. So it is fully open source and anybody is free to use it. And some of the features are from a developer's perspective, if you consider, is very eases the pain of building, managing, and running containers properly. Otherwise, if you see like you will need to remember the commands or how to access the logs, how to port forward a particular container to see the UI. It can be difficult sometimes when you are starting, or even if you are an experienced person, sometimes you have to run these commands in CLI and to figure it out. So this will help. Desktop features will help you to make the working with these containers easy. And it has a very enhanced plugin system which you can extend the existing like features by installing the respective extension. And it also helps to run Kubernetes locally, so you can create a very production-like environment using Podman Desktop. So I will be mostly having a screenshot based, so it's easy to make you understand. So first thing which you need to have when you are working with Podman Desktop is first you need to create a Podman machine. So it's like a virtual machine because in order to run any containers you need a Linux VM, but it's optional in Linux machines. So in Mac OS and Windows you need to create the Podman machine. So you can specify how much CPU, memory, disk space you need. So if you are going to run very large applications or so many applications, you can create much bigger resources. Or even we can create a different Podman machine for each of your different types of things. For like if you want to create testing separate, production separate, that's also feasible. So up to how everybody wants to use it. And you can also select the provider type. So I'm running it on a Mac OS, so I selected the Apple hypervisor. Even a GPU support is also possible. So once you create this, you can easily go to the containers page and create the containers easily. So you don't have to remember any commands. You can just go to create and just specify the image name and create. Another option is go to images directly. Here you can pull the particular image, and once you pull the image, there is an option to run it. So once you run, you can easily see the containers running here. This is the image pulled. Once you click this play button, it will be running the container. And once you do that, you can specify all the port mappings you need. For in this example, I am running a Prometheus container, so I am just giving the 9090 as the default port for Prometheus. So once I do that, and also I can specify volumes or whatever is needed, and all other security option, networking options is also available. And once you see that the container starts running, and here you can easily see this for something called as open browser. So if you click that, it gets opened. Okay, and you can easily see the logs here. If you see here, there is a logs tab. You can easily see the container logs. Inspect them. You can see the inspect the particular container, what all things are configured. And kube means you can even create the Kubernetes manifest from the existing container itself. And terminal access, if you want to log into the particular container to check something, even that is directly. Otherwise, you usually will need to run Podman exec and run in the CLI. So this is just the example of the respective container. What forward, I can easily click that browser icon and it will come to them. So you don't even need to type in browser separately. This is saves your time. And this is one of the cool features which Podman added recently. You can even see the layers in the image. So if you go to that particular container, there is some tab called Files. So you can see each of the layers that have been added to the respective container. So how each layers are formed. So if you click this Files tab, you can clearly see how each of the commands has been formed. Layers has been formed. Sorry. And next is container registries. So even you have options to configure various container registries as part of this. And even private registries you can configure. There's an option to add a registry here. And so if you do that, there is no need to log in separately, and every time you need Podman push or pull any sort of things if you are doing from a private registries. Okay. Now let's come to the Kubernetes. So I hope many of you are familiar with kind or minikube, how you run Kubernetes. If you have used kind and minikube, yeah. I know people have different opinions. Who will have favorite among them, but in Podman Desktop both are supported. So whichever you are more comfortable with, we can work. So you have extensions for both of the Kubernetes environments here. And so if you go to after installing the extension, if you go to resources, you can see the options to create new kind cluster. So if you see here, and you even have an option to provide the configuration for the your cluster as well. Okay, so it's very easy. You can manage, and you should be able to create from a YAML. For example, if you have a multi-node cluster or something, if you have specified your kind config file, you should be able to do that. And similar to minikube, so minikube have options of setting container runtime also. In kind, you have only container D, so there is no option. In minikube, you have different options of setting container engine. So CRIO is mostly used, so you can select that or whichever you prefer. And once you do that, you see that even this cluster which you set up, it's running as container itself. Like for this example, even this minikube is running as a container. And there is an option in Podman to directly come here and see the dashboard. So you can see what all the things are already deployed in your Kubernetes cluster, and so it's easily accessible instead of using directly from command line to see what all things have been deployed. And you can switch the context, but currently there is no option to switch to namespace in here, so that you might need to do from CLI. And after changing it to CLI, if you come here, then you should be able to see the updated changes. Okay. So this is a very interesting feature which I like myself. You can directly deploy from container to pod. So previously in the slides we have shown I was running a Prometheus container. So if I wanted to move this to Kubernetes and see how it looks there's an option directly. You just select the container and click deploy to Kubernetes directly, and you can you'll get this particular window, and you can see the respective manifest file which will be used. This is all auto-generated, and you can specify any other extra things which you need here, and also any particular namespace. Once you do that, click deploy, and that's done. And you can open the code here and see the details. So similar to the how containers are in pod also, you can see the details very clearly from the UI itself. So you can see the summary of what all Kubernetes describe pod you use. Similar same thing you can see from the UI here directly. And there is a direct option to port forward here. So if you click forward, you will be able to see the what all things have been already exposed. You should be able to select that. And this is another favorite feature. You can create multi-container pods as well. So this is actually called Podify in Podman Desktop terminologies. So you have option to select multiple containers and group them together as a single unit. So select whichever is needed to checkbox, and you can click create pod here, and then you can see what all containers will be part of the respective pod, and just create pod. So it's all done. And if you come here, you can see, okay, similar to how the pod forwarding was seen in the container. Here also you can see here, since these two pods were exposed in the respective pod, you can directly click here and select whichever is the UI which you need to see. In this example, I simply gave engine AX and Kubernetes, but it could be like having a database and a front end. So it could be like you can easily test it out. Once you are developing, you created something, just easily in a Kubernetes environment like that. So now we discuss how containers you can spin up, how to move to Kubernetes. I think this is a difficult part. Like you will be developing, iterating, changing so many things, but you want to seamlessly, you wanted to see it in the Kubernetes deployment. Like you should be able to easily change the image version and update and see, okay, is my changes are working fine now. So this is the difficult part people usually will see. So how you can make whatever images you created locally available directly in the Kubernetes cluster without using kind, load, image, or any of the extra commands which you wanted to use. So this is being supported in Minikube. In kind, it's a little bit difficult because in kind there is only container D is supported. In Minikube, this is easier because it has an option to select CRIO as the container engine, and CRIO is using the same image management and storage management like how Podman is also using. So that's why it works very seamlessly. So what you need to do is you have to run this particular command minikube podman env. So once you do this, what happens is whenever you execute any Podman command, it will be storing the images or whatever you do in the respective clusters storage. Like if you do Podman build a particular image you are working on, and when you go to the Kubernetes and try to deploy, the images will be already there. You don't even have to load the particular image into the cluster and take the pain. And even when you are updating, still you will be doing the build command. It will be again available easily, and you can just update the respective image version in the manifest and see the changes. Okay, so this is one of the newest in the Podman Desktop world. I would say like so it's a Podman AI Lab. I hope that most of people that have attended today's session, I think you have already seen if you have attended those sessions. But I can go briefly how this is useful. So every now we are living in a AI kind of a world, right? Like you are hearing so many terminologies, generative AIs, LLMs. It can be really overwhelming with all of these new things. And how you can get started? Do I need to sign up for something extra, or do I need to pay more to learn these technologies? So for this, and not just that, it should be very usability should be more, right? Like you can have a pay, and then you have to go through a lot of documentations and try to understand those. So it should be very intuitive. How when you are learning, then it will make a lot of fun. So that's something I liked about this AI lab. So I was also personally using this to learn. So that's why I included this in this session, because this was mostly concentrating on the containers. But this I really like because this will help everybody to get started with their AI journey as well. With what is running behind the scenes is containers everywhere. So it helps to start building your knowledge on AI, and it already has a curated list of already available recipes which you can try out and understand how AI use cases like summarize. Sorry for the interruption. Yeah, so like I was saying, you can see a lot of use cases which is already readily available, and try to understand where AI is coming to picture and how AI is helping different areas. And the last one, this is my personal favorite, playgrounds to experiment with and test the models. Like when I was hearing all these new terminologies, it was very overwhelming like, for me as well. So I wanted to have a environment locally because I don't wanted to sign up for something else, and I don't wanted to share any of the data which I am trying out. So everything should be available locally. So this is how it helps because everything you run in Podman Desktop is running locally in your machine, and whatever data you provide or doing, it's all in your machine only. And it perfectly fits in the container workflow because whatever LLMs are will be running, it is all running as containers in the Podman itself. So like other plugins, we should also install this particular extension called Podman AI Lab extension from the Podman Desktop. And once you install, you should be able to see like it's kind of a window. And if you go to the models catalog, you can see all the open source models is readily available, which you can download and later play around with. The good thing is it's already checked. If you have only the open source licensed models only here, so you don't have to worry about going to Hugging Face or anywhere and see okay this licensed or not. So here it's already checked it is licensed open source or not. So you can without worry free you can easily use it. And like I earlier said, there's a recipe catalog available which you can try out. It's already created use cases. So you can just go to click more details and you can see just start the respective AI application. So it will be running everything in the containers only. So again, it's all in your local machines. And the playgrounds. So if you go to click new playground, you can select you can give any playground name. If you are trying out different models, you can give different playground names as the model name itself, and select the respective model which you want to try out. So in this example, I gave the Mistral 7B instruct. So once you do that, you can see here like you have options to update your parameters and all. And once you come to the playground, you will get a system prompt like here, like you see normal ChatGPT or something. But this is all running in your local machine. So I just gave, and you have option to define a system prompt itself. Like I'm using a default prompt here, but you have option to define system prompt also. And I can run any of the queries, and I should be able to get it a similar way how ChatGPT also runs. But it's all running from here local containers. So if you go to the model services, so this service is from the playground service itself. So you can see the inference endpoint URL here. If you wanted to try it out this particular model in your application to see how is the performance, is it usable for me, or is this enough for my application, you can just copy this particular endpoint URL and plug into your application. And one of the other cool thing about the AI lab is if you see here, you can see something called client code here, right? So in this screenshot, I was using curl. So it's using the curl source code here. There's an option to choose. You can select any of the languages, and you can select the respective code as a starter code to see how to create an AI application in the starter code itself. This is a simple application which I created. So this is like a small Streamlit app, just same as how you were using a playground, the same kind of thing. And I, for the sake of simplicity, I just created a config file also here. So because I want to separate it from the code, so I just gave this particular inference URL from the playground in here, and I am using this particular inference endpoint URL in my code itself. So once I run it, I can actually test this. This is currently locally. I'm not containerized it, but if I want to try easily, you can easily do it in locally also, right? So this is a simple example I tried, but like this is my application. I simply tried what is Kubernetes. So now this is generating from the respective LLM model. It's already running in the as a container in my machine. So I just gave it to a very simple application. So we can even containerize it, like instead of this particular file, it could be config file, config map or secret. However, you want to, when you are moving into a Kubernetes world, you have to respectively map it into the Kubernetes technologies. So these are a few references which I have used. So mostly the talk is based on my learning experience because I have used Podman Desktop as from a user's point of view for learning and experimenting with things. So credits to the all who created from Red Hat and all the open source community for this very useful tool. Thank you. And just now we have a AI workshop at 3:30 today. 3:15 today, so you should be able to see more of the AI labs and use cases and things. Yeah, in the workshop. So please make sure to attend that.
It also happens like other room on the same floor, not on the walls of the
Any questions? There is time I can quickly explain, show the Podman Desktop. Otherwise, you can. If you want, I can show this more.
Hello. So very nice presentation. So are you by any chance, thinking of having your own extensions around Podman Desktop? Like, I'm not sure whether you're part of the Podman Desktop team.
So we already have that. Okay. So we can even develop our own extension if you want. So we already have this, like all the extensions, so it's already on GitHub. And if you like want to develop a new extension, you can take a existing extension as a reference, and then you can. But you can create it. So whatever the extensions are developed by us in the Podman extension.
So basically, many open source
in the if you come to the workshop or you go to the this workshop page, you already put all the prerequisites, but because the internet here is not working very well, so it's better to download it early instead of coming to the workshop and then download it. So we are trying out like very small models because I think like most of the people are not going to have that much of resource in their laptop. So we are going to use very minimal resource models to try it out, and then once we can go back, we can actually.
So from that point, what would be the most minimal amount of resources required? Like, for example, any kind of laptop I have, and even my customers, like for me to show it to a customer, for them to try it, the most minimal.
Okay, so the way the Podman Desktop AI Lab works right now is in the backend it uses Llama CDP as your inferencing model. First, it will see if there is any GPUs available in the workstation of the laptop. If there are not, not every laptop has GPUs. If it's not available, it will go back to the CPU inferencing. And each large language model again depends on the size of the large language model and the precision of the large language model. So obviously you can't run the FP32 and all the industrial grade ones, but if you're running the int or the quantized versions of these models, depending on the size of the model, some models you can run with 786 MB RAM, some would require 2 GB RAM, 4 GB RAM. In most of the cases, if you're demonstrating, the quantized models are the ones which are usually demonstrated. And they have an accuracy of 97%. It's not like you can live with that thing for non-production use cases.
Yeah, because what we usually do is there are quite common use cases like identifying driver license plates or fraud detection models. These are not models, but these are already available, which we can pull to the Podman AI Lab. The only thing is
So when this project started, right, like obviously many developers don't have GPUs, so they were the constraints for building this AI lab. So strangely, this was like one of the first products written with Apple in mind because at that time Apple was the only one which had the unified architecture of CPU GPU. So it started off that way, but right now the other laptops are coming with like the AMD's new architectures have the unified architecture. I have dedicated. Like certain things, like say for example image classification, there are quite a few models which already do that, open source ones. So in Hugging Face, you just need to go and download if you're running it on a Mac laptop, you need to download the GGU of versions of that model or the pin files of this one. Just make sure you are getting the right size for the amount of vMemory you have within your laptops or workstations.
I think for Apple, I use the Apple. It's very easy for me to work on it or show it as a demo. But the day I leave from the demo or other workshop, and the customer has to do that, that's exactly where.
So that's the thing. I think this is mostly the limitation why it's very hard to work with all the AI capabilities. Like, if even you have like a very nice laptop and all those things, now they are coming. The new models are coming like okay, they are use less resource and even then have a good predictability. But yeah, it will take some time to have this complete end-to-end local environments to be for the AI side of things.
Thanks.
Hello. Session was great. I wanted to ask, like, can you have a demo from scratch? Like, I have tried something like before going for playground, you have to create container, then you have to go there. No?
No, for AI Lab you said?
Yeah.
No, you can directly go to the AI Lab.
It is showing me error like you have to create container.
Is it so? See?
So can you just check your Podman machine is active? Maybe your Podman. It's not like without. So you need a container environment to run. So yeah, can you see?
See, if you see here, if you go to playground, there is an option to create playground, right? So I already have a few models already downloaded, so it is easy because it is some 4 GB or something. So then you can easily select the respective model and create the playground. And the containers are running behind the scenes, not you are creating. So if you go to containers here, you should be able to see the respective container that is running. See here, 11 seconds it is showing because I just now spinned up that container. So it's running behind the scenes. You are not creating. That will be taken care by the desktop.
This is problem.
So I think a workshop is the right place.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure that you just downloaded the Podman Desktop and then you just downloaded the AI extension and then you're just trying it out. You have to start the machine and all those kind of things. Sorry. No.
Yeah, if you see here, if I go to download it, I already have 4 models downloaded. So it was easy for me to spin up because it will take some time to download this itself based on your connectivity speed. Then after once you download it, then you can easily play around. And like they also said, you can even, if you already have a model in your machine, like in GGUF format, you can import also if you don't want to download a model.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah. Thank you so much for attending.